Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today, Ross Marcagiani, with another great conversation at revowell.com. Today we're going to be talking about acid reflux. We're going to be going over the anatomy of digestion, then we'll dive into the pathology behind the acid reflux, then we'll be talking about ways to decrease that burning sensation, and then some issues or alarms that we should be aware of when taking care of this. I hope you're ready to learn. Let's dive in. So when we're first talking about the anatomy of digestion, really what's going on when we take in that food or that bolus, it's going to travel down the esophagus, past the lower esophageal sphincter, and then it's going to hit the stomach. And here there's two crucial cells that are going to be working. We're going to have our parietal cells and our chief cells. So what the parietal cells are going to do, it's going to release HCl, or hydrochloric acid. This is going to help break down food. It's also going to interact with the chief cells. Chief cells are going to release pepsinogen. And pepsinogen is going to interact with HCl, and the HCl will convert the pepsinogen to pepsin. And this will also contribute to helping break down food in our stomach. So once these two cells have worked and we've broken down our food with the HCl and the pepsin, it's going to reach the pyloric sphincter. Then from there, what will happen, due to these small particles breaking down our food into these constituents of small peptides and amino acids, it's going to allow that pyloric sphincter to start to open. And this is where the key crucial enzyme is going to be working, which is called cholecystokinin, or for short CCK. And what CCK is going to do multiple things. So when we start to get those smaller constituents, release CCK. It's going to stimulate the gallbladder to release bile acid. This bile acid will emulsify and start to break down the fat molecules in our digestive tract. It's also going to release pancreatic enzymes, which are super important for breaking down our food and helping with absorption. So it'll release like pancreatic lipase, pancreatic amylase, pancreatic protease. These are all enzymes that are going to help with the breaking down of food and absorption. It's also going to release what's called bicarbonate. So this will take that acidic chyme, and it'll start to neutralize it and make it more, make it more basic, so we don't irritate the digestive lining. And also CCK is super important for controlling gastric emptying. So that's the anatomy behind it. Now if we go with the pathology around acid reflux, or GERD, people may get this confused. So GERD stands for gastroesophageal reflux disease. And GERD is just going to be, they're going to be the same exact symptoms, but GERD is going to be more frequent and it's going to occur more often. Acid reflux doesn't occur quite as often, and it's not considered to be a disease or diagnosed. But that being said, it's both going to create that heartburn. So what's going to happen here? We have the food. The food sits in our stomach, and we don't release enough of our HCl from our parietal cells, and when it's unable to break down the food into those constituents that I talked about. So the food just ends up kind of just sitting there, and what happens if we don't have enough HCl, it's just going to end up filling up, and it's just going to start creating pressure on that lower esophageal sphincter. And that's when the lower esophageal sphincter is going to open, and the stomach acid, so the pH of our stomach typically ranges from 1.5 to 3. And if even more towards the more basic level of that 3 pH, it's still going to create, when it gets in the esophagus, that burning sensation and that reflux-like symptom. So making sure we're really getting good HCl is crucial. And then also what happens is if we don't break down into the constituents, that pyloric sphincter doesn't open as timely, and we also don't have the correct release of our CCK. So now we can't break down our food correctly, we can't absorb it correctly, and we're also having issues with releasing bile to break down fats as well. So that's a super big issue. So just to be clear here, unable to release HCl, break down foods. Therefore, that's not going to be able to trigger CCK, and we're just unable going to be break down food, unable to absorb, and then that builds up. It puts pressure on the lower esophageal sphincter, and the food starts to come up and irritate that esophageal lining. So ways we can decrease the burning here. So first, conventional medicine uses what's known as a PPI, proton pump inhibitor. That's like our Prilosec, our Nexium, and other various omeprazole, other various over-the-counter medications. So this is also a very, could be a good use for certain people. All it's basically going to do is it's just going to make the stomach more basic. So it's going to decrease the amount of acid so we don't have that irritation. What could be an issue here is that now we're creating a more basic environment in the stomach, so we're not going to be digesting as efficiently, and we could be at risk for malabsorption. Also, HCl is super crucial for creating a gastric mucosa in the stomach, and it's also very important for protecting the stomach from pathogens and bacteria. So this is a good way to get like H. pylori and other bacteria or other fungal overgrowth if we have that high pH or more basic stomach environment. What we typically do in functional medicine is we'll use HCl or betaine, and that's just going to create more acid. So now we can break down the food and we can start decreasing the amount of this buildup. And we can start creating digestion and releasing the CCK, bile acids, and all the other important digestive enzymes. How we measure this or how we dose this is through like an HCl challenge. So basically what you do is you take one tablet during a meal, and then you basically increase the tablet for each meal until you start to feel a warming sensation. Once you feel that warming sensation, that's when you know you need to back down one tablet, and that will be your dosage, your dose. So just being aware of that warming sensation and backing off. Typically in older adults, we start to, as we age, we lose our pH or we lose the amount of HCl secretion. So in older adults, we might need more, just to be aware of that. And then also, I'm going to supplement with vitamin C and other proteolytic enzymes to help with that absorption. Vitamin C is absorbed all throughout the small intestines, so it's great to just facilitate the absorption. And then pancreatic enzymes, if we don't have good HCl, it's just going to help break down the food in the duodenum so that we can start absorbing more efficiently. Then some things to be aware of or alarms. So if we are taking our HCl and our betaine and we start to notice the reflux issues are getting worse, this might not be the correct treatment for you. So I would get off the HCl. You could start wondering, well, maybe do I have a peptic ulcer? What's going on? So that's where you might want to see your MD, and where you could dive into whether it's a duodenal or duodenal or gastric ulcer if you do have an ulcer. So just be aware of that and be in tune. If it is making the symptoms worse, you want to get off. And maybe you do want to go to a PPI. Maybe that is the case for you. Also, being aware of long-term PPI use. So again, like we talked about, if we're constantly keeping that stomach environment more basic, again, we're more susceptible for bacteria and fungal and other parasitic growth. Also, long-term PPI use is associated with milk alkali. This is known as stones, bones, groans, and psychic overtones. So basically, with milk alkali, due to long PPI use, we get kind of mental confusion. That's where the psychic overtones come in. Where we get the bones, we have decreased calcium absorption due to the PPI. So therefore, we're at increased risk of like osteopenia or osteoporosis. Then we have stones and groans. It creates constipation. And also the stone, because we're not able to absorb that calcium, we start to create calcium deposits. And this is where we get like our cholestasis or other obstructions due to these calcium stones. So that's kind of something to be aware of as well. And the fact that if we're in that basic environment, we're going to have some probably serious malabsorption. So I hope this video is helpful for you. If you know anyone that will benefit from this video, please share this. So like I always say, we're in this to become healthier and happier. Thanks for your time and have a great day.